Hello, everyone. I really do apologize for the quality of the camera, but I'm just using the laptop camera right now, so can't really do anything about that. But it looks dreadful, but yeah, never mind. So, welcome to this stream video. For those who are just joining or whenever you join on this road, I Conversations of God audiobook has been taken down because of copyright reasons, and whoever puts it up, it will be taken down eventually. So I thought, let's just start a community and talk about what happens in the book, the topics in there, and yeah, just have a discussion basically. So that's the reason for this. And we are going from chapters 7 to 12 today. And yeah, so let's get started. Let's just jump right into it. Baby's asleep, so the aim is to get it done before he wakes up in his nap. So again, I got my little book, which I've written down. So the question he starts off by saying is, why haven't you revealed yourself to us, in like a way that no one can deny? Just why haven't you revealed yourself to us? Because surely a lot of people might have asked that question. If God is God, then why not just show up right now? Just show up and then you would squash everyone's doubt or everyone's disbelief, or yeah, it would just be squashed if you were to just show up. So that's the question he asked anyway. And then the response was that I don't like saying he or she, so I'll just use the term God, has done so over and over again constantly. And what did it say? He basically went on to say that it said, I am everywhere you look, basically. So the way I kind of interpreted that was, how could I put it? That God, everywhere you look, meaning you can probably find God everywhere where you look. Coming from I'm not saying I agree with this statement or disagree. I'm literally just gonna say it, but I feel this, I'm getting tongue tied. I feel what this is saying is, if God has made everything, basically, literally everything, then part of God is in that. So whatever you're looking at, it's kind of like, yeah, that's God. That's what I got from that anyway. Yeah, so he went on to say like, oh, just show up in front of just basically show up. And it basically went on to say that God has no form, you know, or no form or shape that anyone could understand. And the reality is, if it was to show up in a form or shape, how would we as humans react? How would we react? We wouldn't believe it, wouldn't understand it, or it would be a case of this God being has shown up in this, I don't know, for example, let's just say a monkey for argument's sake. God shown up as a monkey, and people would say that just that monkey is God, and God cannot be nothing else, if you get me. So that's why it's like, well, I wouldn't show up in physical form like that and say, yeah, this is God, because people would be like, nothing else can be. If that's God, then that's it, type of thing. Which comes back to the whole Jesus thing. Was it possible? Because, the truth is, that's an argument that a lot of people have. Like, a lot of a lot of sorry, like a bird was going into the window. Um, a lot of religions like don't believe that Jesus was the Son of God, like actual God in human form. Um, and a lot of them do, but it's kind of like there's a lot of argument around that, like, no, Jesus definitely is God and that's it, and that's all who God can be in terms of physical form and etc. etc. Yeah, it's just an argument. There's a lot of arguments around that belief. But yeah, and then it went on to say, and if that's the case, a lot of people would only accept just that one form as being God only, and people who like don't believe it or wouldn't believe it would basically say it was the devil, or you're eluded or something like that, it's an illusion, or etc etc. And then that made me laugh because and I say we as a race of people, blame the devil for a lot of things, like all the time. If anything bad happens, the devil and Satan, the devil, Satan, Lucifer, is doing these bad things or causing people to do these bad things. And it's just like, really? Is he really? Oh, I want to talk so much more about it, but I know that the book goes into more detail about like Lucifer, Satan, and things like that. So I don't want to say too much about it now, but yeah, like we have to agree. A lot of times we blame Satan for everything, and I always thought, even when I was younger, I thought, is it that's I'm not gonna lie, at times I thought, poor guy, like like poor guy, it's sad. He's not doing nothing and he's being blamed for everything, and everything that is good that's happening, then God gets like lifted up. Like, yes, God made that happen, or God got me this job, or God got me through uni, or blah blah blah. But if a disaster happens with your assignment, for example, you then blame Satan and say, um, you blame Satan and you say that he's out to attack you and to stop that from happening, of you getting your assignment done. It's just like, seriously, did Satan really do that, or did it just happen? So yeah. And there's one thing I'm going to do as well. This might sound scary to some, but I am going to look into Satanism because now I'm not saying to be a Satanist or anything like that, but I think it's really important to learn and to step out of your box, to step out of whatever it is you're trapped in, and look in and learn from everything as much as you can, and to see what things are truly about. Because I watched a TV show the other day, still on the topic of Satan, but I watched a TV show, no, a film. It's called Magnificent, and I was amazed. Like, honestly, the reason why I never watched that film, because I seen the picture, and it was it's Angelina Jolie, isn't it? And she's there, and then she's got the horns on her head, and that always put me off because of the programming that I've been programmed to. So it always put me off. I just thought, oh, evil, I don't want to deal with that. But when I watched it, I was amazed. So for those who don't know, just quickly, Magnificent is basically, Princess Aurora, Sleeping Beauty. It's meant to be well, we would think the witch or whatever that put the curse on Sleeping Beauty, where she pricks her finger and then she has to be woken up by true love's kiss, blah blah blah. And obviously, from watching that and reading that story as a child, you only hear of the king's side of it, or the royal side of it, and oh, this evil person came and pricked the finger and blah blah blah. But watching that movie, it was showing the other side of the story, and it was amazing. Like, for example, it wasn't a witch, which I just always assumed it was a witch, but it wasn't a witch, it was a fairy for one. She was a fairy of the jungle. She just protected it, and she had big wings to protect it. And basically she was done over. She was done over, so that's what caused her to put the curse on the Aurora, Princess Aurora. But in that story, she actually more or less was with Aurora every single day of her life, whereas her dad, who's caused the whole problem in the first place, wasn't even with the daughter. And yeah, long story short, it just made me realize there are two sides to every story. And the truth is, oftentimes it's the story who won, so to say. It's the conquerors, who the victors, who tell their story, but we don't hear about the ones who were defeated. We don't hear that side. So yeah, that's a food for thought in terms of the devil. We don't really hear that side of the story. So that show also, Lucifer, is quite interesting. I've only seen one episode, then I got bored. But in terms of the concept of it, showing the other side of Lucifer is interesting, because you see the duality. It's really good. So okay, let's carry on anyway. So yeah, statement was made, and it says God does not reveal God's self through outward observation, but through inward experience. So again, I felt this. Sorry, the lighting's, it's getting a bit dark now, but yeah, through inward experience. I thought this was interesting, because many times, say, the term searching for God, you always look outside yourself. Ultimately, that's what I get from this. Oftentimes people are just looking out somewhere. They're looking for, when I say out, anything outside of you, so whether that's the Bible, the church, the pastor, whatever. You're looking outside for something that you experience within. So that's what I had got from that. I kind of feel like the moment you put your power outside of yourself, that's the moment you've lost, or you're at disadvantage. That's how I feel. Because the moment I put power within myself, that's the moment I started to shine. Yeah, so. And then it went on to prayer. It went on to praying, which I found really interesting. When you're listening to things, it's like, oh, I swear down, does it really mean that? Or is it really like that? Sorry. I know the light. I'm just going to plug in the lamp to see if it would make any difference. A little. Yeah, because it's getting dark now. So yeah, praying. It made a statement saying that sorry, not praying. Just asking in general. And it says that, it went on to say, when you're asking for things, or you're praying, really, when you're asking and praying, it's basically a statement. What you're saying, the words coming out of your mouth is a statement, and you're stating that it's not there. So you're kind of coming from lack. I'll talk about that a bit more a bit later. And it went on to say, your thoughts are creative and your word is productive. So using them together, it's basically magical. Using them together, that's the way you start creating your reality. Basically, it begins with the thoughts, and then it's your belief about that thought. So whatever it is you believe about it, and then obviously when you say it comes eventually. It comes. So then he went on to say, the man, Donald Walsh, went on to say, so does that mean I can't ask for anything I want? Can't I pray? Like praying, does that mean I'm pushing it away? And then, yeah, so he went on to talk about when you're praying is lack, basically. Now, not all the time, but you're coming from a place of not having that. So when you're praying for not having a thing, you're basically focusing on not having it, and that's what you're going to get back, basically. So that's what it's saying for that. Yeah, so again with the lack, when you say, oh, you're praying, oh God, I want to pass my exams, just a simple thing. You're producing want. So it's like, yeah, okay, you want to do that. That's it. You want to do that. So it went on to say, the correct way to do it really is a gratitude. Be thankful for what it is you desire the outcome to be. But then obviously, as you say, and I've questioned this as well, because, in terms of being thankful for what you'd like or desire or tend to have in your life, but you don't have it yet. But then how can you do that if you don't have it yet? How can you kind of convince yourself like, yeah, this is going to happen, blah, blah, blah. So that's what he had asked, which I feel is a good point, really, because it's true. You can't really lie to yourself and say, oh, thank you for the food on my table when there's no food on the table, as an example. So it's like, well, what do you really do? So he went on to say, he basically went on to say faith. He went on to say faith, but before that, which I want to bring up, it said never supplicate, appreciate. Now, I know that the word supplication is in the Bible, and it says to do that. So I went and I checked what it means. So I'm doing that right now because I can't remember. Where's alive? So basically, supplication means the action of asking or begging for something earnestly or humbly. So yeah, it went on to say never supplicate, never beg, never don't beg. Why are you begging for? Begging, it's coming from a place of lack, and I know that there's that statement is in the Bible, definitely, where it says, prayer of supplication. It's like, why are you begging for? Who are you begging? I didn't, stuff like that never sat right with me and doesn't sit right with me, because why are we begging? Why do we have to beg? So yeah, so then the guy was like, oh, well, surely if we're being grateful for something and it doesn't happen, then that's going to cause, disillusion and bitterness. Obviously, it would, because many times that's happened, even in praying, you're praying, and it's nothing's happening, and then you vex. You vex or upset, and you just get to the point of, oh, maybe God don't want that for me, or blah blah, but you're still upset, and it's just like, well, surely there must be a science behind it. What what is that science for it to actually make sense, you know? Um, so there is. I do want to do more research on that though, in terms of like actual vibrations and the way the universe is made, etc. I might do that in another series though, as this I kind of want to just stick to the layout of the book. It does mention it somewhere. Have heard it, but yeah. So then again, he's gone on to like, if it doesn't happen, you can't just lie to yourself. You'll be bitter. You can't just lie to yourself. And um the voice of God commented saying, no, of course, you cannot lie to yourself or manipulate God in any way. Now, this is a point I wanted to bring up, because referring to the law of attraction, because I know a lot of people who are against it. Bear in mind, it's just a universal law. But a lot of people who are against it say that people do it because they believe that they can manipulate God or blah blah blah, whereas that's not the case. It's not the case at all. Just spat on my screen. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to highlight that. A video was sent to me about the law of attraction, and I think if I can, I may do a response video to it, because a lot of stuff they were talking about in there is just stupidness. But anyway, like, it just don't make sense. Like, yeah, this is airy fairy type of stuff. So anyway, went on to faith, like the word faith. Ultimately, I'm getting to the point where I don't really like the word faith. From the words of someone who I've heard once said, blind faith is for the weak who don't use their heads. So yeah. I feel that faith it's a weak word, and it's used to keep people just there whenever a question can't be answered, whenever anything doesn't make sense. It's just like, you need to have faith, and that's it. So I don't like that word. I'm being frankly honest. I don't like it. But it went on to say, you need to have faith, as many teachers have said. Faith of a mustard seed. It went on to say, it's like, if you many have chosen in my name. It said something like that. Yeah, basically. And what I took from that in terms of faith is rather just knowing, like, if you're asking for it, or not asking, if you're being grateful to it for it, it's that knowing that it is. And I get that knowing from, it just is, or it's possible, from time, because I'm getting that time is an illusion. Time is an illusion. It's a cage. It's a prison. That's what time is. And also, it's kind of knowing that time is just always happening. Everything is happening right now, because there is no past, there is no present, no, there is no future. It's literally just now, like this moment in time. As you're watching this, as I'm speaking, it's now. But like, time was kind of only existed for this realm to function, in this realm to get the full life experience, but time in itself doesn't. So my understanding of this on like a really deep level, when you are grateful for whatever it is you intend to have in your life, you have that knowing that time doesn't matter, and there is a possibility that thing is right there now. It's so hard to explain, but I don't know if anyone would understand this. But you've watched many movies. Like the one I can think of right now is Men in Black 3. They're protecting some guy or something like that. And was he looking into the future? But he was standing there and he's like, I can see like a big number. I'd say thousands, but he says infinite or something like that amount of possibilities that can happen right now. Avengers, another one. Doctor Strange sat there and he looked into the future to look at all of the possibilities. And this is there could only win in one. But that's my point. Basically, it's like so much could happen, and it's kind of just understanding, like, yeah, I'm grateful for this type of thing because that's the one I'm choosing or I choose to experience, if you get me. It also explains the time jumps. Like, I know I looked into some stuff, then it kind of creeped me out, so I stopped. But people experienced time jumps to basically, like, they were just there, and all of a sudden they're in a different like, you could be in your house and all of a sudden it's jumped back 100 of years or something. You're still in the same position, but everything around you, like, just for that moment, you've probably seen someone walk through the door. You're like, who's that? The whole setting has changed. And people have said, reported these things to have happened. So it's like, personally, I believe them, because why are you gonna lie and come up with so much detail and blah 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 blah, especially because there's loads. I feel there's loads of experiences that people have, and it's about being open-minded to the possibility of it happening. But yeah, to me that would make sense, because if everything is kind of happening right now, then for all we know, something that happened that's like in our history is still technically happening. So when there's glitches in the matrix, it's possible that you could just for a split second experience, like, yo, what's happening in another dimension, so to say. So yeah, it's getting a bit deep now. Let's go back to the the faith. But yeah, so the knowing. So then it goes on to praying. It went on to say no prayer goes unanswered, and it is the God character mentioned. Prayer is basically a statement, and none of them go unanswered. So, and went on to say, what you hold as truth in your head will be made manifest. So it will, pardon me, will come into your life, whatever you believe is true, basically. So yes, it went on to talk about, when it says what you hold as true, the thought in your head, it's basically the thought behind the thought that they mention. It's the root thought as to why you're thinking that way. So if someone is begging and pleading, their thought might be, oh yeah, begging and pleading to, I don't know, have enough money to pay for bills, for example. But their initial thought really is that they have lack. They have a lack of money to pay for the bills. That's their deep initial thought. So that is what is being answered, if you get me. So he went on to say, oh, the guy went, Neil, so are you saying when you pray, God does nothing? Everything that happens is basically the prayer's action. So whatever the person has said in prayer, it's the action. It's the prayer itself, not God doing anything. And this is quite a bold statement. When I just say, do you believe God is, use the word omnipresent, and sits up in the sky saying yes, no, and maybe, or not yet, later. Now I've seen many memes, I don't know how to pronounce it, with that. And obviously when being fully into the church, that was one thing that was like, yeah, God just say, he says yes, no, or just later, not yet. But that's according to Conversations with God, that's not the case. He went on to say, by what rule of thumb would he decide? Don't like using the word he. What rule of thumb would it decide by? Whether saying, yeah, you can have that, no, you can't have that, or later. What is the reasoning? Now, initially, obviously, a lot of people be like, well, of course, the Bible's the reasoning, so whatever is good and just, then that will be it. But I tell you, this is a whole different concept, and honestly, you need to be open-minded. You need to be open-minded. I feel that religion itself, now I'm not just talking about Christianity, I'm talking about all religions, keep you closed-minded, and they keep you in a certain program to keep you that way. Like, literally, they've done research, and if you're trying to if you mention something against someone religion, it's the part of the brain that lights up when you try to defend yourself or you're ready to fight. That lights up when someone questions about your religion. So it's like, seriously, it's a program. That's what it is. Everything's a program. The same way I like Game of Thrones, no one can tell me that any show is better than Game of Thrones. You can't do it. And that's the same with religion, unfortunately. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't watch other shows to give it a go. I've watched many shows, and I'll watch many shows to come. And there's going to be many shows that's good, but I just probably won't think that it's as good as Game of Thrones. But that's the thing with religion, unfortunately. It's just no. As simple as that. You're going to stand up and defend it, and you're not going to look into other things. Now, yeah, I can rant on about it for a long time, but let me keep going. Yeah, I went on to say, if you believe God is creator and ruler of your life, you are mistaken. It's a man's voice speaking this, so he's got a deep voice. Yeah, it says you're mistaken. Now, I find this hilarious. I find it absolutely hilarious because a lot of people take it as God is controller for every single thing in my life. And yeah, it's not the case. And I'm glad this was brought up because I find people don't want to think, they don't want to take responsibility for themselves. So that's why they will happily accept that they're not in control of their life, happily. Because if they're not in control, there's no responsibility on them, really. That's easy, isn't it? If you can say, oh, such and such is in control and blah blah, but it's not the case. You are in control. You're the one who took that test. If you didn't take the test, you wouldn't pass the test. So who passed the test, really? Did God do it, or did you? You went on to say God is the observer, so it's literally just there. One thing, yeah, it's just the observer. I'll leave that for another time. What I was gonna say. You went on to say that God created you in the image and likeness of God, but you done the rest, basically. So yeah, everything in your life you created yourself, it went on to say. So again, that might be troublesome for some people to hear because we put everything on God, and anything that goes wrong, like I said, is put on Satan. But I think it's really time to just take responsibility of your own life right now, just take responsibility. You made that mistake or you done that good thing, It was you, man. So God gave free choice to do as you will. That's what he went on to say. Now, I know that anyone watching this at whatever point in life will be like, yo, yeah, in the Bible it says that God gave free will, fam. That's what it says in the Bible. But is it really free will? If it's a case of, if you don't follow me, you're going to burn in hell until, I know a lot of people think burn in hell forever and ever. But in the religion I was in, Seventh-day Adventism, they don't believe that. They basically believe until your body gets burnt away or your soul dies or something like that. So like it's not forever and ever. It's a period of time until the flames, blah blah blah. But that's my point. Is that really free will if you have to do what they say in order to supposedly be saved? That's not free will. You're basically saying, yeah, you can do whatever you want to your baby, your child. You can play with whatever toy you want to play with, but you have to choose the blue toy if you want to eat ever again. How is that free will? It's not free will. No one can tell me that that's free will. And that is basically what's presented in the Bible. It talks about that more as we go on. But yeah, so went on to say as well, your will is God's will and God has no preference. So yeah, in terms of preference of what you'll actually do with your life, basically. It goes into so much more. I feel like right now it just touches on it. So I kind of don't want to say too much. But yeah. And then it goes on to say, and this is the last point, that the grand illusion is that God cares what you do. And I had to laugh at that point. And it used an analogy of a child playing. It's like, you don't really care what the child plays with. If they go outside to play, you're not really going to care if they play tig and tag or hide and seek, you just, and you're not going to care the next day neither. So yeah, use that analogy. It says, of course you wouldn't want them to get hurt, and if they did hurt themselves, you would say what would be better for them to play with, or the say consequences of each type of thing. But you're not going to stop them from playing, and if they do play and get hurt, then you'll be there, basically. So use that analogy. So I found that quite interesting. But yeah, that was it for now. It went into second grand illusion as well, and that starts off by saying the outcome of life. So what happens at the end of your life? But that's where we're going to pick up for next week. So yeah, so that is it. And there's actually a couple people online. Don't know who he is though, because it don't show. But yeah, I noticed some people have like a green screen and they have things behind them. I'm gonna figure out how to actually do that. But yeah, that is it for this live stream now, guys, for whoever's watching and for whoever watches in the future. And I will see you next week. Bye.